Hello, welcome back to La Cena Podcast, where the gossip is just as good as the food. In case anyone is wondering what La Cena is, it is a podcast where we discuss and bring awareness to different Hispanic and Latin American culture and communities. Join us as we explore diverse traditions, history, and more. My name is Jared Herrera Diaz, our special guest.
I'm Jose Bolanos, and I'm majoring in mechanical engineering.
Benjamin Campos. I'm an electrical engineering major.
And I'm Mariani Perez, and I'm undecided.
And then I'm Elizabeth Emerato, and you all know what I'm majoring in, so that's...
All right, thank you so much. Today we're going to be talking about the movie Encanto, as well as just overall Hispanic culture represented in American media. So, first of all, let's get our general opinions of the movie Encanto out. So, we're going to start with Jose. What did you think about the movie?
I actually really liked the movie. I didn't know about it when it actually came out originally on theaters, because I didn't really see that much in promotion for it. It wasn't until it arrived on Disney Plus where I started seeing on social media people posting clips about it, and I got really interested in it. So I watched it, and I actually really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It's a movie. I don't think it's like a movie that I would watch more than once. I don't know. I just it felt more musical than anything, which is a lot, like what Disney does. But I feel like I don't know. I could guess the plot halfway through the movie, what it would be about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Ariane? What are your general opinions?
Well, for me, it is a movie I would watch more than once. I was actually watching it before I came here. And I guess that's just to say that I enjoyed it, definitely.
Disney adult who?
Yeah. The music of it, I was kind of surprised to hear like some of it make the charts and like become super popular. Because like when I heard it the first time, I didn't like. I was just like, okay, bops, you know.
Yeah.
But I didn't. Yeah. But overall, I liked it, definitely.
What about you, Elizabeth?
Ooh, okay. I definitely liked it. I mean, I have a 7-year-old little sister, so that's continuously going on. We have an Alexa, and my little sister's like, Alexa, play We Don't Talk About Bruno. So that song's constantly stuck in my head.
All right. So I think it's an okay movie. I definitely think it's overrated in terms of like the Disney movies, and we'll go into that right now. So I think the movie is very colorful. I think the color scheme is fantastic in the movie.
Oh,
A very pretty movie to look at. Very similar to how Moana had wonderful colors. But I think the music, I don't know, maybe it's something about the Disney Broadway-esque music that I'm not a big fan of. Yeah. There are some bops. I like the song where Mirabelle, she's like, where the family freezes, waiting for a miracle. Do y'all recognize that song?
yes.
Yeah, but there's like a movie where like the family freezes and she's depressed because she doesn't have a gift. And then she starts singing this bop. I do like that song. But all the other songs are kind of like, okay. And the plot is, it is pretty predictable, but I think it's pretty sound for a movie like this. So we can go around. What do y'all think? We're just go, Jose. Building on your opinion about Encanto.
Well, something that I really liked about Encanto was how there wasn't really a true villain. Because most movies nowadays have like one set villain that like the protagonists are trying to either defeat or overcome. And in this movie, there's no real like antagonist. They're like the issues that are presented in the movie is more of a not a physical representation, but more of a like mentally emotional way. And I think I really enjoyed how it presented that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Because there were a lot of themes of emotion, like generational issues. I feel too are very present in the film. I think it's for a movie that seems so simple, it is very mature. If you like really look in between the lines, and yeah, I definitely agree. I think it touches on stuff that's it's more so emotional problems than an actual like a good versus evil situation. So Ben, build on your opinions. Why do you think it's maybe not bad, but
I don't think it's like horrible per se, but I think, like I said, it wouldn't be a movie I'd watch more than once. I like some of the songs. Yeah. I like the one where she's like talking about pressure and stuff.
Yeah, that's a good song.
We're like drip, drip.
Yeah,
I like that one. Also, I have a little brother, so he likes the Bruno one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about Bruno. Yeah, I like that one, and like you can kind of see like the dark points of Disney when you see Bruno, like when he's looking at them eating, his whole family eating on the dinner table, and he has like drawn out a little plate of his own food labeled Bruno, and I was like, dang, that's sad. Like, it has some sad points to it, yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Ariane?
Yeah, just some of the stuff that you guys have picked out on already. It really touches on like the dysfunctionalness that can be present in Hispanic families,
For sure.
and I'm really glad that that's like being brought to like American TV,
Exactly.
just so like they can get a glimpse of that dynamic. I also enjoyed a lot seeing like more like darker skin tones associated with the Latino community.
Yeah.
It was like so cool to see. But yeah.
I definitely agree. Like, forget the. There's the sister. She was like the flower girl.
There's Isabella, there's Louisa, and then there's Dolores.
Yeah, Isabella. She's the flower
Isabella's
girl.
the flower one.
Yeah,
Isabella
and
is-
how she's like the pinnacle of beauty, but she had like dark skin
Supposed to be
and like an
perfect.
arched nose.
Yeah.
I think I think that was really cool because mostly, when it's like beauty or something, it's typically white or like blonde kind of thing.
Exactly.
And the fact that they made her the pinnacle of beauty, I thought that was really cool. Definitely something you don't see in American media. And what about you, Elizabeth? What can you tell us further about Encanto?
Okay, when I first watched it, it took me a second to realize exactly what it like pointed down to. But I can totally relate to Louisa. Just the song "Pressure" is it basically describes me every day. So I'm kind of just like I relate to Louisa because it's like we don't show our emotions, but they are there. We just bottle it up, and one day we just explode, and we're like. Oh, yeah, this is built up from like 3 months ago.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that, especially because like that older sibling dynamic. Because if you have a younger sibling, you feel like this sense of like I want you to do better than I do kind of thing.
Exactly.
Well, actually, if you're a good sibling.
Other times you're just like, oh, you can do whatever you want. I don't care.
Yeah, and I feel like I definitely have those times where like, my brother, he's like my best friend, and like I talk a lot with him, and usually we're like goofing around, but when it gets like deep, when I'm like talking personal about him, I feel like it's pretty. You feel like that pressure of like, oh, I want you to like be doing better and kind of thing. So I definitely think that's a good thing they touched on, and I think further building on top of that, how everyone is gifted, everyone has like a superpower essentially, and the superpower I think is symbolism for if you're considered a gifted and talented kid. If you're considered gifted and talented, you're considered smarter than whatever they call like the general kids or not gifted and talented, and you get a lot of pressure, kind of upholding this idea of perfection or like of being the pinnacle, being the best. Because when you start to, I remember, and this might be a silly comparison, but like I was considered gifted and talented, had straight A's, and it was in 7th grade I got my first B, and it felt like tragic. And then your parents make a deal about it. It's like you had all A's all this time. Why you get a B? And I feel like that's kind of is pointing that out. Like, Lisa had so much pressure building up her because she has a superpower. Why would she have any trouble? But they still show like she has emotional trouble. So I thought that was really well done.
What do you guys think about Mirabelle? Because Mirabelle, whenever she touched the door, it did disappear. What do you guys think? Like, is the significance beside behind it?
That's a good question. Obviously, that's a big thing. Mirabelle being the main character. Do y'all want to go first?
I
know this is like a big topic.
I feel like it connected more with like the younger audience. We're growing up. We grow up reading about superheroes and all that. But like for someone to not have like any powers at all, for someone to be like an outcast, but them to be like the main protagonist and like the whole plot of the movie. It's like I think it's inspirational, honestly.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Especially since she didn't have any powers, but she still brought her family all together.
Exactly. Yeah, I think because if y'all remember at the very ending of the film, spoilers, but at the very ending of
We're sorry.
Whenever the house rebuilds, whenever she touches the door, her entire family is on the door. Because like previously it was, if you touch the door, your super mega dream room is inside the door. But then she touched the door, she's in front, Mirabelle is, and everyone is kind of like around her, showing that the house belongs to the family. And I think since she's at the very front, it kind of represents that she unified the family again. And also, like whenever she was getting angry at the grandma, was like, you put too much pressure on us, just like clapping back at her, and then the house gets all wrecked. I think that is like that generational pressure where like the generation above you kind of expects you to be like them, but like just a little bit better. It's weird because they want you to like do exactly what they did, but better. But if you want to do something better your own way, they're like, no, that's not it. That's like that's a completely different route that is not at all the correct route kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
I remember the grandma screaming at Mirabelle and like yelling at her, and I was like, ah!
yeah,
I was like, oh man.
I was like, is that my grandma
Yeah,
on
grandma,
television?
Yeah. Like I was cringing, but I see like, ah.
yeah, you feel that kind of like generational trouble. You're like, because you're like, ooh, you're like this.
You're like, this is trauma
Yeah, this
that's
is
like
traumatic.
bubbling up now.
Very true. I feel like my grandma never did anything to me like that, but my mother had said, yeah, she just kind of expected us to do stuff,
do better.
how she did it. And I didn't want to do it how she did it.
Yeah.
You know? So, like, yeah, definitely, I think it touches on that. I think it was very bold to do something like that. Okay, since we talked so much about the music, we're going to talk a little bit about the music, just because I think it's such a big theme of the film. So, starting with Ariani, what did you think about overall about the musical score? Lin-Manuel Miranda, how do you think he did?
Oh, I think Lin-Manuel is a genius.
Yeah.
I think he's like super good at what he does. Like, yeah, my props to him. But like I said at the beginning, when I first watched the movie, it was just music with like that kind of just furthered the plot of the whole movie. I didn't think like, oh, I really enjoyed the song. I just listened to it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, and how Ben pointed out earlier, that it climbed the chart. I don't know if it was okay, how it climbed on the charts. It was one of you.
It was Ariana.
Oh,
it was
sorry.
number
All right, we'll cut that out. Yeah, definitely. Ariana pointed out that it climbed the charts. I think also because it exploded on social media, that was a big deal.
Oh, for sure.
But it was kind of impressive that this Disney film just.
Is it a marketing conspiracy?
I mean-
in fact, yeah, I think that it was very good that it exploded for TikTok, but Disney was very happy getting their pockets
I
full of
mean,
money.
we don't talk about Bruno came to like number 1 and it started playing on the radios and I looked at my mom and I was like, this is insane.
Yeah, I feel like even with "Let It Go," Frozen, it became a huge song, but that wasn't really as big as we don't talk
We
about.
don't
Bruno.
talk about
You
Bruno.
didn't hear it.
Oh yeah.
You didn't
But
hear it on the radio stations. Well, I
I think it's just because it was released on Disney Plus. Like
Yeah.
everyone just got it out
Yeah.
so fast, so quickly.
Exactly.
People didn't have to cram into cinemas and like be
That's
watching
true.
it all at once. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. All right. You have anything else to say about
Yes, for music, for me, it was like the best part because it showed the true emotions or the true actual characteristics of each character. Like for me, my favorite song is actually, "Social Pressure." I think that's the name of the song. Lisa sings about being kind of like one of the eldest kids of the family and having much of the members depend on her. I'm the oldest in my family, and the song that Lisa sings connected to me because not only do my siblings depend on me, but also my parents. Almost every situation that happens, they look at me as like, oh, I am the Google of the family.
Yeah.
They're searching me for the answers.
That's so true.
They're like, oh, this just happened. What do we do?
Exactly.
And
Are you also the tech geek in your family or is that just a me thing?
yes, I manage. I wouldn't say that I manage everything in my family, but most of the time, my parents and even my siblings when they look for answers to any problems they have, they look at me for the answers. And at first, I felt like, oh, it's just normal. But throughout the years, I felt it just like piling up that I couldn't handle the problems that were coming to me. There were some instances where I'm like, I don't know if I can actually help them with this, but I keep trying because I think to myself that I'm the only one who can actually help them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. Very brave to say because, yeah, I think we can all agree to that. Like, I remember, this is from, like, the smallest thing where your dad doesn't know how to change the source of the television.
Oh.
Yeah, and he's like, Dad, put an HDMI 2. He's like, I don't know how to do that. And he gets mad at you. And then to the other thing where, like, you're going to the doctor and the doctor's, like, telling you, like, about your parents. Like, your parents, like, they'd be telling you about their, like, where it's, like, something they have bad with the cholesterol or something like that. And then my dad or mom was like, what did he say? What did he say? He's like, he just said a whole bunch of medical terms. I don't know. You expect me to translate all that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because when you go to the doctor,
Yeah.
Did you guys ever have to translate like taxes or like federal
Yes.
documentation?
No, they got someone else for that. That was like, I tapped out on that.
they
Okay.
got a bilingual person doing that.
No, because there was at the moment where I feel like when I had to go to the doctor, they would get like other people too, because like it was at that point where like I don't know all this, and like same thing with like the taxes, like I didn't know all the freaking terms. Like there were so many sections.
I kind of just made up words as I went. I was like, okay, I don't know what this means.
Oh, yeah,
but
he's
I'm like,
fine, he's
okay.
fine. It's fine.
I think this is what it means.
Yeah, or you Google it and there's some word in Spanish you
Google
never heard of.
Translate.
You're like, I don't know what this is either.
Let's
And,
type it in real quick.
and then you tell your mom what
Yeah,
does it
like,
mean. It's in Spanish. She's like I don't know. She's like it's Spanish.
You try sounding it out.
Yeah, bro. But yeah, I think, yeah, very true. That's a great point. All right, so we're gonna move on now to comparing this movie to Coco, which I think is something that is inevitable.
Yes.
Both being Hispanic film representation and big, and both made by Pixar, or both, I guess, funded by Pixar, or I mean, both made by Disney. I'm sorry. And so we're gonna talk about them. So they're both being Hispanic films, but the culture is very distinct. Obviously, I think Coco did a great job with Mexican culture. You know, growing up in Mexico for the time that I was there, I think it was just like that. When he's like running on the roofs and stuff. Like I would do that as a kid. Maybe. Then,
Wait, running on the roofs?
yeah, you know how
Where he's hiding him.
Yeah, I would do stuff like that, and like my dad definitely would do stuff like that, just telling stories, or like if you're a kid in Mexico, you would just like find whatever you
My
want to
uncle told
entertain
me a bunch of stories, and it was similar to that.
Mhm.
And then my uncle told me like he would hop on like trees and then just like jump off it, and there was like this river, and he was like, "Okay, I would just jump into the river," and that's how they got around places. And now
I don't know.
you think of it, and you're like, "We got cars,"
Yeah.
but like they didn't have cars back then. All they did was walk.
Yeah, it was like a little village too. I thought that was really cool. It was like it was just. I think they did a great job of showing how culture was in Mexico, and maybe I can't say for the same for Colombia. Maybe I feel like it was represented rather well, but I feel like they really knocked it out with Coco. I think how they made the little Mexican city was exactly how where I grew up.
Yeah, how I saw it in my
Yeah. So it was great. So obviously there are a lot of themes that the movies share in common. Though I do think they are very different in Encanto and Coco. I think there are a lot of themes they share together, and one of them being obviously family. Family is a huge thing. Paying homage to your traditions and all that. Definitely a huge thing. Obviously, like living up to expectations, another thing that is very present in both films. So we all seen Coco. And what do y'all think? Let's go over our opinions of Coco. So I think it's pretty excellent. I think it's pretty darn good. Elizabeth?
I'm a big Disney fan, so I'm a Disney adult.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. I honestly love Coco better than Encanto. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's just something about it that just makes it feel more like home.
What about you, Ariana? What do you think?
Well, I like the music in Coco for sure.
Yeah.
He does a little guitar and
Yeah.
but when I'm comparing it to Encanto, I'm gonna have to give Encanto my vote
Ooh.
because it is.
We need to keep a tally now.
Oh yeah, just like put out the board. But while like Mexican culture is like, you know, like they're like the leading. When you think of like Hispanic communities here in the U.S., they like Mexican culture is like what leads that conversation most of the time.
Yeah.
But when Encanto comes out and like comes into the picture, like they highlight other cultures that are in Latin America. And me being from Honduras, I enjoy like things that highlight like the less talked about communities and countries. So that's why Encanto has my vote.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. We will talk about that a little bit later. So I'm glad you brought her up right now. So Ben, what did you think about that?
I love Coco.
Yeah.
Honestly, the music was really good.
Yeah.
I don't, like I said, like I know like Encanto has great music. I like a lot of songs from there, but I felt like it was more music than like a lot of story.
Yeah.
Like it was a lot more musical in a sense. Which was Lin-Manuel Miranda did make music for it. It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
But I really like Coco and like all their classic songs. Like
Absolutely. Yeah, and I do want to quickly jump in and say that I think Encanto had very Broadway-esque musical, which is very a staple in Disney, and I think they do a good job for the most part. And what I think made Coco music so distinct is that it paid homage to old Mexican music.
Yes.
And did it really well too.
Yes.
Just how like Pedro Infante, obviously you can hear the inspiration in all the songs. They really did their research. And the fact that they wrote them both in English and in Spanish,
Yes.
and the same voice actors, it all just felt so organic, so real.
And then the other thing is, I kind of want to just put my opinion into it, is they put dead, like, Mexican representation.
Yes.
Actors, there's Frida Kahlo.
Yeah.
Like, we were watching it, and my mom's like, oh, that's that person, oh, that's person. And I felt like, even my mom, who's 40, was like, it's got so much depth into it, and it's got so much representation. So,
So
I
let's
don't know.
hear Jose's opinion. What do you think?
yes.
I do enjoy both movies,
Okay.
and I remember that I watched them back to back before with my family,
Okay.
and I can say that I enjoyed Encanto way more than Coco.
Really?
Yes.
That's
The suspense. Did you guys feel the
I
suspense?
did. I was like,
Because
Awesome.
yes, because I'm Mexican, and of course Coco. When I saw it, I was like, hey, that looks like very familiar to what I'm used to and stuff like that. Except that I like it different. I like the feeling, and I like things that are different to what I'm used to.
Yeah.
Coco, like I said, it's a really good movie. I really like the characters. I really enjoy the music, how the Land of Dead is shown and stuff like that. But for me, Encanto was like, in my eyes, it represented better with me than Coco did.
I got you. It felt more personal.
Yes, and I enjoyed the music from Encanto better than the one in Coco.
Yeah.
Only, and the reason I can say this is because Encanto, the songs actually somehow made it to my Spotify playlist, and I was listening to them for like 2 months. Whereas a Coco was not really. I kind of forget the
it was
names.
some
And,
really
That's
nice
true.
beats.
You-
Yeah.
Like it had like
It does,
drip,
Yeah.
yeah, like that
There's a
song that Luisa sings
Mhm.
is different from what other like Disney movies do. All other Disney movies have a female singer
Mhm.
that sings in a like higher pitch, more energy like.
Mhm.
But Luisa's song, I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, is the first song of her from a female that is more like lower tone.
Oh, for sure.
And the way that they did it, like, is like really pleasant to my ears.
Yeah. I definitely agree. I
No.
think Lisa's deep voice
Oh, yeah.
was a defining, again, pointing out to her like strength and stuff. But her like singing that song of Pressure, it made it more impactful. And you know, there's a verse where like it's like strings, where it's not as percussion heavy, where she's like she's feeling ethereal. That really hit too, because the voice of the singer was incredible. So like it really registered in both the deep and in the high parts. So yeah, it's a great song. It is a good song.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we can move on now to what Ariane was talking about earlier, which is representation of Hispanic culture from lesser known cultures in American media. So it is exciting to see that we got Encanto, which is a Colombian film, Colombian inspired, and Coco being Mexican inspired. And I've been waiting for a long time. I remember when Pixar announced that they were making a Mexican inspired film. That was really exciting.
I was so excited.
And there were like other Mexican films, but they felt a little bit more campy or kind of like not as well put together. Like The Book of Life. I don't know if y'all recall that film.
I do
I
recall.
feel like it was more stereotypical.
Yeah.
The actual
It was
representation.
Same thing with like, you know, like when you think about cartoons before Coco, like Mexican in cartoons, you would think like Speedy Gonzales. It was more like a caricature rather than a celebration. And I feel like Coco really transformed that, and I feel like that's what they're doing with Encanto. So, Ariane, what other cultures would you like to see represented in American media?
Well, of course, mine.
Yeah.
I want to see like the Honduran flag like plastered on a Disney poster. But you know, any culture that is like making up like the South American countries or the Central American countries, or just like the Caribbean islands, like Puerto Rico, for example. Any of those that end up making it on the big screen is just like a huge, win for any of the cultures that aren't necessarily represented every day. So
Yeah, I'd like to see more. I feel, especially because Central America, Southern America has a lot of, as well as native cultures that you could absolutely make a film about or celebrate in some type of way. So there's still a lot of cultural representation to see. I would love to see, maybe because I think it's so different, but like Southern Chile, which it's like frozen down there. It's like a Spanish-speaking country that's completely frozen. So I would love to see how they represent that type of culture in media. So Ben, what other cultures can you think about that you think should be represented in media?
I would say like something Brazilian.
Brazilian.
Something like you could see like the
So like real 1 and real 2.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
real one, real two, sure, but it was like about animals.
Yeah, but it was like
representation
American
of like their
actors.
like culture and stuff.
Yeah, it was all like American actors. It was just like the setting was Brazil, but it wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Right. It wasn't actually like celebrating their culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I found, I was like, alright, it was a pretty good movie.
I
would like to learn more about it.
Yeah, exactly. What about you, Jose? What culture do you have in mind?
Any other Hispanic or like Latin American country besides Mexico? Only because I'm already so used to the Mexican culture. I want to see something else that's more different. I want more people in America to view other cultures that are not theirs. Because now a bunch of people know the Mexican cultures. Like here, there's a bunch of like Mexican restaurants, and you can just
But are they
find
authentic?
one.
No.
Well,
some of them.
It also depends.
Some
That
of
could
it
be
close.
a controversial topic.
Yeah. But yeah, I want movies to represent more of the like lower, like known cultures from other Latin American countries, especially like the islands. The islands like Dominican Republic, like history behind it that I really want to see in a movie. I want other people to experience the same cultural significance that it has on present day.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Latin American culture is so influential, not only to obviously Latin America, but to American culture as well. You see a lot of people from the Caribbean islands. A lot of their culture just drifts into American culture, especially with how big Caribbean music has gotten over the last decade. So I think it would be very exciting for them to deep dive into these very varied cultures, because like we said earlier, like when someone thinks Hispanic culture, it's like Mexican culture. That's the first thing people default to, and we want to kind of them to think that it's a lot more. It's a lot more than just Mexican culture. Absolutely.
And I think if we like stray away a little bit from Disney movies in particular, you're definitely starting to see like strips of different cultures in there. I think in The Heights in particular, have you guys seen that?
Yes.
I haven't.
Yes.
Do you like it?
Like I said, I'm not into like Broadway musical types of esque music, but I kind of liked it. It was actually pretty nice and chill.
And The Heights, what is it about?
Puerto Rico, right?
Don't have time to vomit the whole plot now. Yeah, it's about like a community in New York, particularly in the Heights, and it talks about like, for example, I think a young girl of immigrant descent that goes off and tries to study at an Ivy League school with the pressures concerning that, and also a guy who wants to like make his dreams or go back to his own country and stuff like that. It touches basically the small dreams of a community that's descended from Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic.
Okay, this is the movie that's based off the Broadway musical, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, I know which one
From
it is.
Lin-Manuel.
The goat, man. He's everywhere.
He's a goat.
Everywhere.
And yeah, I think I love that idea, because two very different point of views from the same kind of community, and that sounds like a wonderful film to watch. Because if you think about it, like we're all like or we're all of immigrant descent, you could say. So a lot of us are first generation college students, and whenever you study like that, you feel the pressure, because if you fail college, they'll be like, oh, you will hear a lot of excuses of why you didn't graduate. It's like a big deal, you're the first one who was in here. Because like I don't want to just say like, oh, you're American, if you fail college, not a big deal. But it's like, okay, he didn't go to college. I feel like he has a lot more opportunities that he can without the degree. And I feel like having that degree, not only is it solidifying like, oh, we're here, we studied here, we're part of the country. It also solidifies that we can do.
We work hard.
We work hard.
I don't know if you guys have actually paid attention to how you are treated differently. I walked into a store the other day, and there's like an American lady who's like older, who obviously studied here, who actually was, like born and raised here, and I got treated so bad to a point where I could not stay in that store no more. But they walked up to the lady and they were like, oh, how are you? Like, can I help you with anything? And then there's just me. Keep in mind, I went by myself because my mom was at work. And I was like, well, I'm a dip. And I just couldn't, I don't know if you guys have felt that pressure or not.
Yeah, I think I felt it. Maybe I felt a little bit less. Most people think that I'm American, or when I'm telling them I'm Mexican, they're like, "Oh, for real?" And then they change the tone. Not only is it like a surprise, obviously, because you don't expect me to be Mexican, but it's kind of like this. Oh, and you know what? It changes your perspective a little bit.
Oh,
So like you're studying computer science, like, whoa, cool, man. Like it's like it's the
stereotypes there.
Yeah, it's like a sudden shift, and you're doing a lot of stuff, and like, hey, come on, man. But yeah, definitely.
Well, that's kind of like frustrating sometimes that you can't help but just like acknowledge that that's how that person is like coming to reshift their whole like idea of Hispanic students and young Hispanic Americans.
Yeah, very well said. Absolutely. All right. Do y'all think this is a good place to wrap it up, or do y'all want to add something?
I wouldn't say I ever felt like stereotypicalized from
Yeah.
from other people. But like I'm from Middle Tennessee, we're like kind of like country bumpkins, like I would say.
Yeah.
But like I've just been hanging around like the awesomest people
Mhm.
back at home. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I've ever felt like different or an outcast.
Yeah. Very true. Especially, it depends also with the people
Yeah.
you hang around. Like
Oh, for sure.
my elementary school, very diverse.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
elementary kids are crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you can say that
Yeah,
again.
very true. But I had a very diverse area, like a very diverse
Oh, yeah.
atmosphere. It was like 25% white, 25% black, 25% Hispanic. It was like that, and so incredibly diverse. And I never like felt any social pressure because we were also equally we were just
Y'all were little.
yeah. You don't think about that stuff as a little. But then when I went to middle school, it was really weird. It was like 80% white.
Everybody's
And then
split up.
10% everything else, and so it was just like, oh, like it suddenly felt you felt this like shift, like what happened? All right, y'all gonna wrap it up? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, fantastic. Thank you so much to our special guest. We got Jose Ben Ariani here for coming on to the podcast. It was a pleasure talking to you guys about Latin American celebration moments. I hope that we can continue to have interesting conversations like this one on the Cena podcast. And then to our viewers, if you thought today's conversation was interesting, please go and follow the Hispanic Student Association at CBU HSA on Instagram to stay updated on club events, meetings, and the releases of our podcast episodes. All right, there it goes.